So Fable 5 is back, and it's fantastic news. Unfortunately, they haven't nerfed it or throttled it down. It's just as capable as it was before with tighter guardrails, but it's still as capable as it was when it first came out, and we all went crazy over it for a few days. But here's the part I haven't heard too many people talk about is the fact that on its lowest setting, on low effort, it actually beats Opus 4.8 on maximum effort. Also, you'll often hear that it costs twice as much per million tokens. And that is true. It does cost more per million tokens. But when you consider additional factors, it's actually not 2x the price. And in some instances, it's actually cheaper than Opus. And I'll explain why in a sec. Speaking of receipts, just one receipt I want to show you guys here. So this is from June 15. It's a screenshot I took on June 15 from Polymarket. I really wanted to know when is Opus going to come back. And rather than feed into the doomer narrative that it's never coming back, I looked at the prediction markets because prediction markets, the fantastic thing about them is that there's money on the line. And since there's money on the line, there's always someone who knows when something is going to be released or when some piece of news is going to happen. Then in the stock market, it's called insider trading. And similarly, here on Polymarket, you have a small number of people that have a good idea, a good grasp of when things are going to happen. And they're, of course, going to load up on that particular bet in many cases. Now, they might end up being wrong, but in many cases, they're right. And so middle of last month, I went off of what the probabilities were here, and I was expecting it to come back on July 1st, and I told everyone it's going to come back probably around July 1st. And funny enough, access got restored exactly on July 1st. So if you placed that bet, you would have made some good money. But here's what I want to share with you guys. So according to Cursor's benchmark, by the way, is used to test real production work, not just experimental work. And Cursor found that Fable 5 on low effort is actually slightly more powerful than Opus 4.8 on max effort. And on low effort is cheaper as well for the same task or the same number of tasks. And actually, Anthropic themselves also published this score. They found that Mythos on low effort far outperformed Opus 4.8 on extra high effort. And they also reported that it was able to complete tasks at about half the cost. And I'll explain how that could be in just a moment. Here's some more of that Anthropic benchmark. This is Anthropic's data from their system cards comparing Mythos 5 versus Opus 4.8. Mythos, by the way, is basically the same as Fable 5. Just Fable 5 has guardrails on it, safety filters on it. And they found that, as you can see here, on every equivalent effort level, Fable by far outperformed Opus. And its lowest setting outperformed Opus on extra high effort. On max, it's probably a bit closer, but on extra high, it did very much outperform Opus. And so if you look at the equivalent cost to get a series of tasks done, and you look at what a dollar will get you between the two different models. So a dollar on Fable will get you far superior performance than what a dollar would at the higher medium level on Opus. And as you can see here on extra high, Opus is actually more expensive, although on low, it is a lot cheaper on low. And here's another graph from Cursor showing the same thing. So this might sound hard to believe since you've been hearing that is double the cost per million tokens, which is true. But when you factor in the effectiveness of getting the job done and it getting the job done right the first time, Fable actually turns out to be the more cost-effective model. Another Cursor benchmark, when you look at what percent of coding tasks the two models were able to get done, and at what cost, and in other words, at how many tokens, Fable 5 on low, although it's more expensive per million tokens, it outperformed Opus 4.8 on max because it's able to do this. It's able to do things more efficiently, and also it's able to solve complex tasks right the first time instead of struggling and spinning its wheels like Opus 4.8 would. But to be straight with you, on the same effort, Opus is by far cheaper. But as you saw from the graphs, when you compare high effort on Opus versus low effort on Fable, the cost of effectiveness actually flips in favor of Fable. Now that you know this, the fact that Fable on low is more cost effective than Opus on max, here's what you can do with it. Firstly, for coding, I would suggest using Fable 5 on low or medium. It'll outperform Opus 4.8 on max at both the low level and a lot more on the medium level. If you have work that requires a high degree of judgment, then I would suggest higher max on Fable 5, although heads up, that will eat up your usage very quickly. But if it's a complex problem that low or Opus is struggling to solve, that's where you would switch on higher max. Now, furthermore, what I do is I have my Claude code set up such that my default is Fable 5 on low, And then I have it set up to automatically delegate tasks to Opus 4.8 and Sonnet 5 and report back into Fable 5. So Fable 5 you could think of as their manager. And I also have it such that if Opus 4.8 on max struggles and Fable 5 on low struggles, then I have it set up to automatically prompt me to recommend to increase the effort level. And this is how you optimize your usage for both getting the most usage out of your max plan or pro plan, and also, especially if you're an API user and you're paying per tokens. I have this setup. I'll actually share this setup with you guys. You can just copy it. I'll put it in the description. It's on GitHub. It's just a prompt. You pop into your Claude code and it will set yours up just like I described. Here's the catch though. On the Pro, Max, and Teams plans, it's using Fable as capped to 50% of your weekly usage. So you can only allocate 50% of your weekly usage limit toward Fable. And it's only available on the subscription plans until July 7th. So Anthropic is basically giving us, those of us on the Max and plans and Team plans, about a week to use Fable at no extra cost. But even once it switches to billing per usage, that's all right, based on what I just shared with you, the fact that you could just run Fable on low effort and it still beats Opus on maxed out. And if you're willing to spend a little bit more, you run Fable on medium and you get far superior performance. That combined with the configuration that I have set up, I think you'll be fine, and you likely will not be spending that much more on Fable. Although, once the max plan runs out after July 7th, I would probably set Opus as my default model and have it orchestrate down to Sonnet 5 subagents and have it automatically recommend using Fable at a particular setting when the task is very complex. So although it's going to be an additional cost to use Fable going forward, in addition to the monthly plans, I have the 20x max plan, and it would have been nice if they included Fable, but we'll have to pay an additional fee to use Fable on top of the maximum priced subscription plan. I'm fine with that because of what I just talked about. For super complex uses, Fable 5 isn't that much more expensive than Opus. I'm curious, on what settings are you guys running your cloud models? Are you running Opus 4.5 on max? Are you running Sonnet 5 on max? Are you running Fable 5 on medium, low? Curious what you guys are running today. Tell me in the comments. And with the information I just shared with you at the cost effectiveness of these models and how to properly set them up for maximum cost effectiveness, I hope this was helpful. And if it was helpful, please give this a like. And if you like AI news like this that you can verify and playbooks and tools that you can copy, subscribe to my channel. It would really help me continue making these videos for you guys. Thank you very much for watching. Have a great day.